Discussions underway over border facilities. Papua New Guinea grants immunity to Green Climate Fund. And police in Madang maintain watchful presence following clashes.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Thursday's news. Senior PNG and Indonesian military officials are in discussions over placements of Indonesian government establishments near and inside the PNG side of the border. This follows a joint verification mission in April this year, where representatives of both governments investigated incidents that occurred along the southern end of the border.
The three-day meeting in Bali last week was attended by military and government personnel from both governments. On their agenda was the review of the standing operating procedure. The SOP guides the interaction between the two military forces. The SOP has remained a working document for 18 years. Also discussed in the meeting was the placement of military liaison officers in Jayapura and Vanimo and specific conditions such as diplomatic immunities attached to these positions. While an update of the April joint verification mission was not presented at this meeting, it is understood both governments will present their reports in the upcoming Joint Subcommittee on Security Matters in November. This subcommittee is part of the Foreign Affairs Joint Border Committee that deals with issues relating to the border. The April mission was to investigate 3 incidents. One was in relation to 5 Indonesians who went missing following the grounding of their ship, which was found in PNG waters. The other incidents involved flag lowering and re-establishments of border monuments. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
As the push for the trade arrangement PESA Plus draws near to a close, the stronger the voice from Pacific countries to walk away from the agreement. This time it's from the Vanuatu Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who say PESA Plus is a poor deal for Vanuatu businesses. They say for their members who are domestic producers, PESA Plus will offer little protection due to the extensive import tariff cut conditions contained in PESA Plus. The chamber has over 1,300 members. Papua New Guinea has signed an agreement granting immunity to officers of the Green Climate Fund. The Green Climate Fund is a global initiative set up by over 100 governments to respond to climate change by investing in climate-resilient development. Minister for Foreign Affairs and Immigration Rimbing Pato said this was a move in the right direction, as PNG has had issues accessing these funds for local climate change and adaptation programs.
Minister Pato recently returned from the Third Oceans Conference in the UN General Assembly in New York this month. He said one of the key issues discussed there was climate change. Minister Pato signed a privileges and immunities agreement on behalf of Papua New Guinea with the Green Climate Fund. He said this agreement is intended to enable PNG to work with the fund to draw up templates and programs to draw funding to address climate change issues.
On behalf of our country, I signed an agreement for granting immunities and privileges to staff of the Green Climate Fund. The funding there have increased to, I think, $10 billion US at this point in time. And accessibility, of course, is always an issue for our country. And one of the ways in which we can make accessibility to the fund is by working through that institution, and that is why we've signed an agreement with the Green Climate Fund, making entry into Papua New Guinea easier for officials.
Minister Pato said this will also allow national organizations such as the Office of Climate Change and Development to access climate finance to build capacity, strengthen resilience, and mitigate and adapt to climate change. He said so far the Pacific region was in the front line, with many of its countries, including PNG, depositing their instruments of rectification of the Paris Agreement on climate change.
So the Pacific is in the front line. And Papua New Guinea is one of those countries which in the General Assembly deposited its instrument of ratification.
Green Climate Fund was established by 194 governments to limit or reduce greenhouse gas emissions in developing countries and to help adapt vulnerable societies to the impacts of climate change. The Green Climate Fund was established with the mission to advance the goal of keeping the temperature increase in our home planet below 2 degrees Celsius. Delhi Waigeno, National EMTV News.
The National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate will not be a party in the judicial review of Prime Minister's warrant of arrest issued in 2014. A three-man Supreme Court bench today refused the joinder application of the director, Matthew Damaru, and his deputy, Timothy Gitua. The bench also set aside the National Court's decision, which had allowed them to join as the third respondents in the review.
The three-man Supreme Court bench, Justices Ambeng Kandakasi, Derek Action and Stephen Kasman, ruled that the primary judge of the National Court, Justice Colin McKyle, erred in allowing the fraud officers to join the proceeding. The bench said the police commissioner is the proper person to be a party to the judicial review proceeding on behalf of the police force. Damaru and Gitua applied to join as they were directly involved in the warrant of arrest. However, the Supreme Court said the subject of the judicial review does not affect the police, as it was to review the Chief Magistrate Neri Eliakim's decision to issue the warrant of arrest. Damaru had also argued in person that the reason why he persisted was that he wanted the arrest warrant executed, but the police commissioner did not. The three-man bench disagreed with him, saying that a member of a disciplinary force is obliged to follow directives from the police commissioner, in which in this proceeding he was the fifth respondent. In conclusion, the Supreme Court set aside the National Court judgment and ordered for Damaru and Gitua to pay the cost of Prime Minister and the parties involved. Basenata Yama, National EMTV News.
More than 700 people living in one of the National Housing Commission hostels at 6 Mile in Port Moresby will be homeless if a developer takes over the land they occupy. The residents were told by 6 Mile Police Station commander that a developer had bought the land. However, the National Housing Commission and the Lands Department had told the residents that the area still belongs to NHC.
Residents complained in a press conference this afternoon that the police station commander came at night 2 weeks ago, informing them of the arrival of the developer. The officer did not specify which developer, but told them that the land had been bought 5 years ago from NHC.
Mipla decide lo asking Mipla lo come help Mipla lo put him out so that lands or National Housing Corporation all can look savena. Time lo pan him out whether there's la sale of property and me true or me gaman.
Most of them are serving public servants who have been living at Emma Hostel for more than 20 years. James Wangewa, a resident, said it has been 15 years since the National Housing Corporation visited them and do maintenance. Water and power connections were cut off, but the residents continue to pay the bills.
Normal passing, normal formalities, been take place. Like serving landlords supposed to be the people that they will come first. Now facing you mean serving notice or talk survey or some.
NHC told the residents that they did not sell the land to any developer. The Lands Department also told the residents that the land still belongs to the Department of Civil Aviation after it was sold to NHC. The residents are now looking for ways to resolve it. Vasenata Yama, National EMTV News.
When we come back, the antimicrobial resistance posing a threat in PNG. That and more are the local stories after these short messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Police in Madang, both from the province and the backup squad from Leh, are working around the clock to maintain law and order in the province. The province, as of the previous weekend, has seen several clashes that could have gotten out of hand if police presence wasn't maintained with the Morbe squad backup. The clashes are ongoing. Rachel Shise reports.
Madang has seen several clashes as of the previous weekend, and the police, including the backup squad from Leh, are on call 24/7. The ongoing clashes include that of the Biliam Mouse Road settlers and the Wagol settlers, who live on opposite sides of the roundabout towards the airport, following the killing of a man and a woman. From this clash, worshippers at the Church of Christ Church, mostly Wagol settlers, were surrounded by the Biliam Mouse Road settlers while in church last Sunday, but police arrived at the scene in time to disperse the attackers. As a result, the Wagol settlers sought to attack the Biliam Mouse Road settlers, resulting in their gardening areas transformed into a battlefield. The other clash is that of the Biwats attacking a man at the public tank settlement, resulting in the targeted man losing 4 of his fingers and 2 houses torched to the ground. Other sparked incidents include the killing of a man who lives at the 26th area towards the airport, who was attacked and slashed with bush knives, also near the roundabout. The Madang Governor Jim Kaz, in a recent speech, said such is because the communities involved are not participating with the police.
Law and order because all mama papa hiding. Rascal.
The police reinforcement from Leh has maintained police presence in these areas of clashes in Madang.
Because long crime long law and order again me carry mamas from mobile school in Madang town. Na plenty more by road Pogia, road Ramu, road Buni.
Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Madang.
The Leh Metropolitan Superintendent Anthony Wagambi Jr. is warning the general public and visitors of Leh to be cautious as Leh City prepares for the Morbe show. Previous experience has shown that the number of serious crimes increase during festive periods. Leh has been the focus of attention with the recent spate of armed robberies.
Leh police are doing foot patrols and traffic checks to ensure public safety is maintained. Wagambi also stressed that major supermarkets need to engage well-established security firms to watch over vehicles parked at their location. Wagambi also advised companies to review and improve their current security arrangements. This follows recent armed robberies that were planned and executed in Leh. Another growing concern has been the increase in petty crimes. The Leh Metropolitan Commander is also warning the public to be wary of the increase in pickpocketing around Eriku, Top Town bus stops and the market area. Wagambi is warning people involved in petty crimes to refrain from these illegal activities, as there have been instances and conflicts that have arisen as a result of these unlawful activities. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Leh.
The antimicrobial resistance is a global threat with evidence of untreatable infections already posing a threat in Papua New Guinea. Concerns have been raised on medicines sold on the streets, which have negative impacts on patients. And the National Health Department has listed the antimicrobial resistance as one of its priorities under its action plans to be achieved by 2017.
Papua New Guinea hosted the first workshop on antimicrobial resistance. The workshop will initiate an active dialogue among key stakeholders to address spread of antimicrobial resistance in the country. World Health Organization's Technical Officer, Dr. Sarah Pauline, said antimicrobial resistance is increasing at an alarming level.
It's looking at prevention first. If we don't get the infection, then we don't need to take the antibiotic. So good sanitation, hygiene, and infection prevention and control. Ensuring access, as well as sustainability, and this is why we need our national action plans to ensure that we are all collectively moving forward.
Multicultural approach is needed to minimize the spread of new resistance related to both human and animal health. Moreover, political intervention must become a priority.
Which is why we need a multi-sectoral approach where we include human healthcare, animal health, agriculture, food safety, food production, the environmental protection sector.
Meanwhile, the National Health Department and World Health Organization are working closely with development partners to develop multi-sectoral national antimicrobial resistance action plan. PNG will be the 8th in the Western Pacific to contribute to national, regional and global efforts to contain antimicrobial resistance for treatment options. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The cost of management for multi-drug resistance is expensive. TB sputum tests conducted at the Queensland Mycobacterium Laboratory in Australia cost over 21,000 kina per patient. Dr. Evelyn Lavu in the National Stakeholders Workshop on Antimicrobial Resistance says that through partners, costs have been covered. Dr. Lavu called on the national government to educate funds programs to address the nation's health needs.
And as you can see, we rely on partners to survive this program. We really need the government to come on board and help us a bit more. We were promised money, it hasn't come, and we are ending 2016. Elections are around the corner and we don't have money to do anything by ourselves.
The former Managing Director, Investment Promotion Authority, says information and statistics related foreign direct investments are available for public access. Pomaliu, who is now PNG's representative to APEC, was speaking to MTV, said the IPA authority continues to maintain their database on the levels of foreign direct investment into the PNG economy. Limited public access to statistics have long been a challenge for many government and statutory bodies.
The records from the IPA gathered through a number of certification approvals from the first 2 quarters of this year show that the National Capital District has the highest number of approvals and employment creation in the country, with Morobe Province being the second highest, followed by East New Britain Province. The records also show that Hong Kong provides the most investment into PNG as compared to other countries, even with China having the most approvals. And the wholesale and retail sector has the highest number of approvals, yet the catering and hospitality sector account for the most foreign direct investment.
We have what's known as the Investment Promotions Act, and that law requires that any foreign company wishing to conduct business in Papua New Guinea must be certified as an approved foreign company. So that mechanism actually allows us to collect data on who is coming in, what level of investments they're bringing in, what level of employment they are hoping to generate. So those data remains and they are available actually, and one of the things that we used to do in the past and we stopped was that we produced what was known as the Quarterly Certification Bulletin, which carried data on what businesses are coming in what sector of the industry, to which province or towns, from what country. So it gives a whole range of data that I think will be quite useful for people to understand the extent of the different the presence of the different companies from the different countries of origin.
IPA's extensive foreign direct investment trends can guide policy making to spread FDI and job creation around the country, so that it isn't focused only in NCD, resulting in urban drift. Michelle Bird, National EMTV News.
The PNG government will be providing compliance relief for businesses and investment. This is among moves to improve the operating climate for businesses. Michelle Bird reports.
Businesses burdened by accumulated compliance fees and issues could discourage potential business activities and in turn affect the region's economy as a whole. Considering the case of the autonomous region of Bougainville and the Papua New Guinean government's commitment to rehabilitate business activities within the region, the Investment Promotion Authority will be providing compliance fee relief options.
As you know, during the crisis years, a lot of companies that were operating in the autonomous region of Bougainville had difficulties with submitting statutory returns and to comply generally. So we took a submission to the board, in fact, 2 weeks ago and asked that the registrar be allowed to structure fees in such a way as to ensure that we encourage compliance, but also look at the possibilities of waiving some fees so that we encourage compliance. And that was endorsed, okay. And I would imagine that the registrar, who is empowered under the Companies Act, will be announcing those soon, okay. Particularly to our companies in AROB.
There are a total of 1,896 companies in Bougainville. 56% of these are deregistered due to a lack of compliance in terms of annual return lodgement for periods including the years of the Bougainville crisis and the following years. These deregistered companies will seek reinstatements as most hold properties under these companies. Apart from those deregistered, more than 800 companies maintain operating statuses. The accumulated compliance requirements of the Act also show to be burdensome even for companies currently operational in the region. Michelle Bird, National EMTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3155 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3080, $0.3973 Australian dollars, $0.2716 euro and 30.68 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, coffee, cocoa and copra closed lower while gold closed the day higher. Crude oil and copper closed higher while palm oil closed the day lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 110.94 points higher. The ASX is trading at 55.45 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 55.21 points higher. Still to come on National EMTV News, Number 1 Super Limited opens new office in Kokopo and others when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. A PMV bus full of passengers veered off the road and landed in a ditch this morning. The incident occurred at 8 Mile in Port Moresby around 10 o'clock.
EMTV was at the scene minutes after the accident, in time to see the injured passengers who managed to crawl out of the window of the bus. Most of the passengers were women, some with their baby. Ian, who was in another bus, saw what happened.
Police car want them to run same speed combat. Police car sim narbla lane lapset na emla golo narbla lane na basela come back to this side lane na. Happening come up basa mi look like me stop and offload. Tanim go down. Kapset tamdo drain.
Traffic stopped as the public helped the injured into a police bus. They were taken to the hospital. The bus driver fled the accident scene, leaving behind a seriously injured crew who was also taken to the hospital. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
The Number 1 Super Limited has opened its new office in Kokopo today. The largest and leading superannuation fund aims to improve its members' experiences with a more ease and convenient office environment. Today, it announced its provision of services within at least 24 hours with the help of its new online database.
It's been a long journey for the number one Super Limited. The leader in superannuation fund has for the first time made its presence known in a big way in Kokopo. In this small but significant gathering in the heart of Kokopo town today, members of the number one Super and executives who came from Port Moresby officiated the opening of its new service center.
The same kind of service that's offered in Moresby is also offered at your regional center in your branches.
Number one Super has a long history. Previously known as the Public Officer Superannuation Fund or POSF, had its name changed on numerous occasions since independence. Number one Super currently manages superannuation funds totaling to more than 5 billion kina for over 155,000 members, both for private and public sector.
We also have updating of biodata. When I say updating of biodata, this is one of the bigger problems that the fund has to have. You members, some of you, look at your balance. If you see your balance a very big amount, I suggest you go in and update your biodata.
While it announced its positive progress over the last 40 years, much of the credits have been attributed to the members who have made it their personal responsibility to be loyal to Number one Super. Number one Super today invited its members in its New Britain province to participate in a all-new experience, such as its mobile and online services. But most importantly, it seeks to bring its services to the doorstep of its members, such as the processing of members' applications and identification cards, something that were previously only done in Port Moresby. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Sogeri Police outside of Port Moresby have called on the police departments and national government to assist them with their basic needs. Sogeri Station Commander Senior Inspector Stanley Baroro said they need accommodation, weapons and transport. Similar problems are being faced by other rural police stations. Eric Harupma with this report.
Sogeri Police Station is one of the oldest government assets established in the country during the colonial days. Its jurisdiction covers the entire Sogeri area, including the 15-mile substation, and further extends to the fringes of Northern Province. Over the years, Sogeri Police has been instrumental in promoting peace and maintaining law and order in communities. Sogeri Police Station has 8 police personnel, including those 11 from its 15-mile substation. Accommodation, firepower and logistics are major impediments they have been faced with.
We don't have the necessary logistics, like we don't have housings, we don't have housing for police officers. The current accommodation that we are now using, they are built during the colonial days and they all run down.
State of houses in the barracks is run down and limited housing has forced some living outside of barracks.
Now no got water, sampler building, this last station commander blow Sogeri, this is a house here. Hey, I'm house blow before ya. And pentasol khalarim them come look good na. You platin house em good blow. No God, house blow before.
To date, they are using only one vehicle donated by the Pacific Balance Fund for logistics. He said it's very stressful lacking these priority needs when executing police functions.
Without the presence of policemen and police merilong, Sogeri, you mean look some, you mean parade lo command up na, you then you mean banana come lo Sogeri. So promoting this place Sogeri, na making old man Mary is safe. I think you mean need him. Police presence must stop.
Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
NCD Governor Powes Pakop says a collaborative effort is needed to make Port Moresby clean. Despite many efforts in the past to keep the city clean, residents continue to litter publicly. Mr. Pakop made this statement following the launch of the Clean Up Moresby campaign today, which aims to control litter and recycle it.
The Clean Moresby campaign is the next big plan for the National Capital District Commission to improve the image of the capital city and control the amount of rubbish people disposed publicly. NCD Governor Powes Pakop says a collaborative effort is needed to stop littering in the city. The campaign will run from 17th October to 13th November. Part of the campaign will involve awareness by people from all sectors and registered groups. The campaign will also focus on the involvement of schools through a new waste education program.
Reducing littering is the target for the campaign. However, equal focus is also on the recycle and reuse of rubbish or waste materials. Sustainable Coastlines PNG is spearheading the Clean Mosby campaign with NCDC. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Turning overseas, in Australia, the release of the latest crime figures that show Victoria is the nation's largest murder capital. The past year has seen a frightening rise in all offences, up 60,000 to 535,000. Australia's opposition says the figures represent a crime tsunami. 7 News with the updates.
What's worse than a statewide crime wave?
The crime tsunami in this state.
The Premier was more circumspect when responding to a 13.4% surge in crime in the past year, saying it was the culmination of
this 6-year trend.
The figures say we're a state of stealers. Theft has risen 19% on last year, robbery 14%, burglary and break and enter up more than 12%, and family violence has risen 10%. Many of these crimes are the domain of young criminal gangs like Apex.
We have got youth crime issues, and those youth criminals often form groups and gangs, and Apex is just one of those. It gets a lot of headlines because maybe the name's catchy.
Thefts of and from cars make up a lion's share of all reported thefts in Victoria in the past year. On an average day, 150 cars are being broken into and 60 are being stolen. Geographically, the Apex gang heartland recorded the highest crime rise. Greater Dandenong is the area with the biggest rise in reported crimes, up 16%, followed by Latrobe in regional Victoria with a rise of more than 8%, and assaults are up 11%. This coward punch attack in the CBD, one of more than 41,000 investigated by police in the last year, but more than half of those were tied to family violence.
Family violence remains a really significant part of our crime and law and order issue that we need to deal with.
And one that affects us all.
Among stories in Chukai Sports, highlights of the Under-18 Basketball National Championship. Don't go away.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. In basketball, the Under-18 National Championship went into day 2 of competition today, with Port Moresby Basketball League women's team showing dominance. They defeated Mount Hagen with 71 points to 51.
The first quarter started off sluggish as both sides assessed each other's prowess on court. By the second minute, a shot by Pom's Gabby Gray from the free throw zone secured 2 points. That sent Hagen into motion and the defenses went up. 2 consecutive free throws from them set a scoreline of 2 points to 4 in favor of Hagen. Pom proved too slick with the ball work as they ended the first quarter with 3 points lead to Hagen's 13. The second quarter saw the Pom side accumulating personal fouls. 3 players were replaced in the space of 2 minutes. This disadvantage gave Hagen the penalties needed to improve the score count, though they still fell short by 1 point when the second quarter ended with 28 points to 27. Pom responded energetically in the third quarter with successful shot deliveries that sent the score count climbing. The third quarter ended with a massive 47 points to Hagen's 29. In the last set, best efforts from the Hagen side to recoup points went to no avail as Pom trashed them 71 points to 57. Dini Rose Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
And in the men's Pool A and B matches, Pom's Team 1 and 2 had wins over Daru and Simbu respectively. A drastic 47 points to 56 loss for Daru in Pool A, while Simbu lost by 6 points to Pom's 61 points in Pool B. Oceania Sports Educator Program today started the second phase of their week-long program. The program was divided into 2 parts, one for sports in community program and the other for community coaches and officials. Areas covered in both clinics were focused on community sports delivery in both rural and urban centers.
Oceania's sports education program saw facilitators and master educators cover 3 different modules for 2 different programs. This program was introduced to help coaches, officials and sports in community individuals to familiarize themselves with their individual role when it comes to sporting activities in their communities. One of the participants of Community in Sports, Peter Sevara Jr., said being part of the clinic is an advantage for him as it will help him understand better his position in community sports development.
Sports is physical activity, sports is a healthy benefit for those who wish to play sport. And this is basically just to teach us to get to know, understand or go through what we think sport is so that we define ourselves and try to look for ways that can really improve our sporting benefits in the community.
OSEF educator Willie Vira said the program will help all coaches across the board in their respective codes.
OSEF is a very good program which all the Oceania countries they implement this, and which we Papua New Guinea have never done this. And it's a new strategy that all the sporting bodies use, which it gives the confidence to coaches and guides them what to do, what is good and what is bad. So they work along those bylaws. Yeah.
He said after the clinic, coaches are able to go out and impart the skills they learn from the program and practice those skills in any sporting event. The clinic will end on Saturday. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Chukai Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome back to Chukai Sports. Swimming coaches from around the country sat in day 2 of the swimming coaching clinic. The clinic that saw specific areas from the Learn to Swim focus theme as well as stroke corrections and competition coaching covered respectively. The program is sponsored by FINA and PNG Swimming Inc.
Swimming coaches from around the country today attended day 3 of their coaching clinic covering areas from how to be effective coaches at training, how to teach others to swim, skills development, water familiarization, type of skills required for a particular stroke and water sessions. The 45 participants were also taught teaching styles and communication skills between coaches and athletes, safety, program sessions and program development. Special guest from Sydney, Australia, Mr. John Bladen, and head of aquatics at the Knox Grammar School in New South Wales, who facilitated the program, said it is important for the coaches as the country is developing rapidly through sports.
Right, these are the views that we do in Sydney, and they have positive effects. Right? They've had success, but whether and what you can take and then transplant into your program is great. So any opportunity there is to exchange ideas. Some of the coaches even in the room are coming up with great ideas, sharing those with the other coaches, which is fantastic, and that fosters a culture of success, because if the coaches are sharing ideas within themselves.
He added coaches will be able to go out and use the skill set they learned from the clinic, and it will help them in the long run. Some of the areas covered in today's session included what makes a better coach, teaching progressions, simple biomechanics, junior coaching sessions and creating basic skills training.
We have an hour where we bring some swimmers in and we work with the swimmers in the pool, so they get to actually see the theory, I guess, in practice. And then that gives them an opportunity to go back and to put those skills in, yeah.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Melbourne Storm halfback Cooper Cronk and North Queensland's Jason Taumalolo have been crowned joint Dali M Award winners for 2016. Both men were awarded the coveted prize after polling 26 points, 4 ahead of their nearest rivals. For Cronk, this was his second ever Dali M, while Taumalolo becomes the first forward since Cameron Smith in 2006 to win the award.
They are the NRL's odd couple who couldn't be separated. At the glittering function inside the Star, Melbourne's Cooper Cronk and North Queensland's Jason Taumalolo were crowned joint Daliam medalists. Cronk and Taumalolo polled 26 points, 4 clear of their nearest rivals, to secure the prestigious award. Taumalolo becomes the first running forward to win since Cronulla's Gavin Miller back in 1989. For Cronk, this was his second Daliam medal after his 2013 success. The Team of the Year, Joseph Leilua, James Tedesco, Jesse Bromwich, James Maloney, and top scorer, Suliasi Vunivalu. Top point scorer, Jared Croker, Josh Mansour, Cameron Smith, with Deliam winners Cooper Cronk and Tamalolo at the awards. It is the second time in Deliam history where there have been joint winners. The other coming 2 years ago when Jared Hain and Jonathan Thurston finished level. Cronk's prize night continues a superb few days that includes joining the exclusive 300-game club, as well as helping the Storm qualify for Sunday's grand final against Cronulla. He becomes just the 8th player to win the award on multiple occasions. Tamalolo is the first forward to wear the medal since Storm skipper Cameron Smith achieved the feat in 2006. He is also the second Kiwi to claim the award. Ricky Stewart took out Coach of the Year for his role in waking up the sleeping giant in Canberra. Izzy Apps took out the Deliam Female of the Year. Jeremy Moggy, National, EMTV Sports.
And that concludes Chukai Sports. Weather details for the next 24 hours when we return. Stay tuned.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Shower or two in Port Moresby, Daru and Popondetta. Fine in Kerema and mostly fine in Alotau. In the Momasir region, rain showers in Lae, showers in Madang and fine in Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Island region, few thundery showers in Lorengau, fine although a shower or two in Kavieng, Kokopo, Rubal and Buka, and rain showers in Kimbe. In the Highlands region, rain showers with possible thunderstorms in Mount Hagen and rain showers in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG-Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema, to Yule Island to Hood Point, to Samarai Island with waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel, to Finschhafen with waters of Madang to Karkar Island, to Bogia, to Wewak to Aitape, to Vanimo and northern PNG-Indonesian border with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and with waters of New Island to New Britain, to Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters, and waters of Finschhafen through Vitia Strait, Siasi Islands to Long Island and Karkar Island, seas of 1.5 to 2 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, sea slide with northeast to southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. Solomon Sea, sea slide to moderate with east to southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea, sea slide with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots with gusts. And in the Pacific Ocean, sea slide with easterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Before we go, a quick look at our stories making headlines. Discussions underway over border facilities. Papua New Guinea grants immunity to Green Climate Fund, and police in Madang maintain watchful presence following clashes. And that's been the news for today, this Thursday, the 29th of September 2016. From all of us here, it was great having your company. Good night.